So, you want to be a filmmaker. Good news, there's a lot to look forward to. Great friends, cool projects, and people saying, ooh, when you tell them what you do. Bad news is the soul-crushing despair and agony. But if you're at the start of your journey, then there's probably one big question on your mind. Film school or no film school? As someone who went, I'm going to break down the pros and the cons of both sides, as well as who I think is best suited for either path. Let's start with the film school route. Congratulations, you're into film school. This is great. There's lots to look forward to, and if you're passionate about making movies, you'll have a lot of fun. But this isn't like some other degrees where just getting the piece of paper is the main goal at the end. If anything, the degree itself is the lowest on the list of priorities. I don't think I know a single person that's actually landed a job because of their film degree, at least in my program. So for us, there are a few more important things to worry about. This is one you've probably heard a million times. It's not what you know, it's who you know. I know it's annoying to keep hearing it, but the reality is, especially in film, that talent, hard work, and all of that comes second to who you know, how likable you are, and how enjoyable it is to work with you. A million talented people get passed over for less skilled but more personable people all the time, especially in film. Plus, everyone likes to work with their friends, so get out there and mingle. Go to those parties, make friends, be social. The film industry is a lot like high school in both good and bad ways. There's lots of drama, lots of beef, but you'll likely make a lot of lifelong friends along the way. The people you're in school with will likely be the ones bringing you onto their projects down the line, so just don't be a dick. Ask anyone who's made it how they got their start, and their answer every single time will be, I had this friend who got on a project and recommended my name, and then it just snowballs from there. Your network will grow as you work, but that first job from a friend that puts your name forward is so important. The networking side of the industry is both a blessing and a curse. Sometimes it's stupidly easy to get on really high-paying projects you don't feel qualified for, and then other times it feels like you just cannot get anything done regardless of how much work you've done. So just keep that in mind when you're going about it. Now, having gone to film school, it is such a great environment because it will probably be the last time in your life you're surrounded by like-minded peers fully dedicated to creation in its most essential form. Whether you're straight out of high school or going back to school later in life, the top priority of everyone around you is going to be filmmaking, so use that. I'm not talking about just doing school assignments, those are just the tip of the iceberg. Get together on weekends, make projects over the summer, connect with whichever prof is in your ideal field and let them know you're interested in working on set. Most profs will likely be actively working in the industry, so there's a chance they could come across an entry-level position and put your name forward. You never know where an opportunity is going to come from, so just put yourself out there. A great tool that I like to use to stay fresh and inspired is those 48-hour film challenges. Getting together with a group of friends for a weekend of sleepless creativity is exhausting but extremely satisfying. I think that myself and a lot of people have the experience of getting paralyzed before a project even gets off the ground, which is understandable, right? You're worried about life, you're worried about a lot of things, right? So just setting aside a weekend where you can fully just devote yourself to a project from start to finish is a great way to force yourself to be creative, and a lot of times will re-energize that passion. You can't afford to be a perfectionist, and by the end of it, you end up with another project that you can put on your reel. A lot of these contests also give out awards like free gear or cash, or just accolades that look good on your website or your Instagram profile, which is not nothing, but obviously the prizes are definitely where it's at. I actually know some examples of people that have used these weekend projects to submit to actual festivals and have been accepted. So you never know where these projects are going to end up. So they're really fun, and I would definitely recommend them, especially if you're in film school with your friends. The main thing to keep in mind is to take advantage of this place in your life and the availability of others around you. After school, life takes over, people's priorities change. Most of my cohort from school isn't really pursuing film anymore, so I wish that I had spent time on weekends and over summer working on passion projects with them and getting on set to build up my portfolio. But as an old, decrepit, shriveled up 25-year-old, I can bestow this wisdom upon the next generation. So get out there, make projects, always stay busy. When looking at different programs, I would highly recommend prioritizing ones that have some kind of internship or co-op opportunity. A lot of these end up being unpaid, or at least they were when I was in school, which definitely sucks. But Putting in real-world experience at a production company does wonders for your future job prospects. There's even internships at places like film gear rental houses, which, while not directly associated with working on set, often will give you insane discounts on gear and will give you the chance to meet and network with people that are actually out there shooting big projects. You never know who's gonna walk in the door. I know a few people that did that and they made some good connections and got access to a lot of great gear they wouldn't have had otherwise. So that's also a great opportunity as well. Plus, internships on set are nice because you're in a role where you're not expected to be very knowledgeable and can ask questions rather than trying to fake it to make it. I knew 2 people who got internships at production companies, and both of them ended up getting full-time jobs as soon as they graduated, so these are super important. I would love to comment more about thesis films, but I can't because my year graduated in 2021. Which you may recognize as a time when the world wasn't really functioning as usual. Basically, my year did half of 3rd year and all of 4th year entirely online, which means no thesis films and no internships apart from the 2 I mentioned who got theirs before everything shut down. This basically destroyed most of my cohort's chances of ever getting our feet in the door of the industry and is likely the reason why most of my classmates aren't in film anymore. Since the piece of paper you get at the end of the program is basically worthless, I've seen firsthand how important the 4 things I mentioned are in making film school worth it. Now, my year is the only year in the history of my program that's missed out on internships and thesis films, so you probably won't have anything to worry about. However, you never know how things will go, so if all else fails and you only take one thing away from this video, it's to make friends and network. Even if your year gets completely and utterly fucked by your program, someone there will likely get a shot down the road and they'll be your way in. I've seen it happen, it's happened to me, so when all else fails, let that be your North Star. So film school definitely isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. I think it's most worth it for those who want to work in above-the-line, primarily creative roles. So directors, writers, cinematographers, producers, editors. Those roles all benefit from having 4 years to learn how to grow and pursue your craft, which in my opinion is definitely worth it. Film school is basically paying a shit ton of money to a college to attend a 4-year mixer or workshop. You get put into a room with people who want to learn all aspects of production and work alongside of each other, which is super valuable. On the contrary, coming straight out of high school and trying to direct films with no connections or network is definitely possible, but it's very hard. That being said, I think if you're not really interested in the aforementioned roles, then there are definitely better uses of 4 years of your time. If you simply want to get on set and work as a grip, PA, locations department, or don't care where you end up, you just want to make movies, then you don't really need film school for that. If you live anywhere near a major city that has a film scene, then you probably know someone who knows someone that can get you on a project. But even outside of that, there are Facebook groups, which granted have pretty sketchy jobs on there, but even on those jobs you can make connections with people that can expand your network and get you on jobs in the future. So there's definitely a lot of avenues you could go down if your primary goal is just working in film no matter what. An exception I could see to this is if you don't live anywhere near any major film hubs and you get the opportunity to go to film school, then I would say it's probably worth it. So that kind of sums up my thoughts on film school. My experience was definitely unique compared to a lot of others, but at the end of the day, film school is just a tool and you have to decide whether or not it's right for you or if you're better served doing something else. To those who do decide to go the film school route, I wish you the best of luck and I hope you get some kind of insight from my ramblings.